Hi, my name is Monty Tisland with Codabears. Today we're going to be covering toolbox items. What are they and kind of which ones are the general ones that we want to use. We're going to start with the order entry form, and I've entered into the developer mode. So we're going to open up order entry here. I'm going to grab a customization, and here is our generic customization. So let's start off with, before we get going, let's actually start with, let's create a playground for us to play with here. So alright, so what I'm going to do before I start is I'm actually going to create a new sheet. And let us call, what is this one? If we click on that, sheet top level. Sheet top level. So now we have a new tab up here called L&L for Lunch and Learn. So let's get to where the toolbox is. So we go to Tools and then Toolbox. Here is a list of the toolboxes or tool items that are in here. And one thing to note too is I am doing this in version 10.1, so it might be slightly different than version 10. So let's talk about first, before we start here, is which ones are the most common ones that we use. The common ones that we typically use are going to be the epi label, epi text box, the epi check box, the epi button, the epi ultra combo, the epi group box, the epi ultra grid, the epi DateTime Editor, the epic numeric editor, and the epi currency editor. I have also used the retriever combo, but not much. So let's start throwing things on here. Let's throw a few items in here first. Get this where I can grab it. So I throw the label in here. And one thing to note is as you drop these on here, it is not, even though I dropped that in there, it does not really have it selected. You have to click off and click back on it in order for it to be selected. So be very careful when you get into there. So let's grab a check bar text box here, and I'm going to grab a check box and a button. I'm just throwing these on there right now. Here's an ultra combo. And before we continue here, let's do this. An epi group box. An epi group box is going to be your friend. You'll notice a lot of these on these other ones. These gray areas are group boxes, so that you can grab and move them wherever you want. So on a group box here, I'm going to set this over someplace where I can get back to it. In a group box, I'm going to call this something else. It's mine. So now we have a name. Perhaps if you want to add a button into it, and you make sure I had that selected, so now I have that button in here. I'm going to have a button, I'm going to call it something different. My button. Okay, so that shows up. So now what that does is if you want to move things around, you can move things around as a group. It's very useful if you're going to put a bunch of things in here and you need to be able to move them around. So you can move them around as a group versus grabbing them one at a time and dragging them over and around. So anyway, that is a good purpose for the group box. Now what we want to do here is we'll go to the text box. Now a text box can display any type of information that you want. One suggests is that you should actually change this to something different. You can use the Hungarian method, I believe is what it's called, and give it a name. One important thing with the text box is you always want to clear the text. Otherwise, if you don't clear the text the first time it comes in and you actually bind it to something, it will actually put that information in there. So that's one thing you don't want. So for now, I'm just going to bind order detail. Let's just grab the cust number. So it'll display it in here. So if we come over to the label now, if we give it a label, let's give it a name, label mine, and we call it mine. One thing you'll note here now is that these two move independently of each other. If we want to attach them, we can go back to the text box and we can grab that label, and the next time we click on it, now they move as a group. Alright, one thing to note here now too, with the epi checkbox, you see there's some information back here. It's an epi checkbox. That information really doesn't show up after you come back and look at it. So you'll always want to put a label in front of a checkbox as well, because that will never show up. And there's also nothing in here that you can type to put in here as to what it is. You would bind it the same way. And this is just going to show you you can use this for anything that's a true, false, or yes or no to actually give you a valid information. So a button you're going to want to use to do some sort of event, either load a grid or load something that would be executed in code. You can put the buttons in here, or the buttons on here, wherever you want, how you want them. If for some reason you have a button on here that you don't want to see, an easy way to get rid of it is just move it off the screen. And you can do that just by changing the label or the button location. So that it's a negative, that means it should be off to the left. And if a negative on the first one, it should be up to the top. So an epi ultra combo. This is the one that we typically use. There are other options available. If you saw them in here, there are other options available. Here's the ultra combo, there is an epi combo, and there's a BAQ combo, and even an epi ultra combo plus. So let's do this. I'm going to drop you in here. I'm going to grab a BAQ, and let's grab this one. You'll recognize this once we get started. So typically what we do is we use the epi ultra combo. It's the simplest one to use. We would just bind it to something. If you had values, you can put them in there. I'm going to type in some list items here. And we'll show you those when they come back up. And again, you'll always want to clear out the text. And that one is the ultra combo. It'll always show you the type right here. If we go back to the combo, if we come up, there is a business object that we can select on. Let's see, do I have, how about plant? And these are just set ones that are in here so they can give you different combos. So we will come back to that. Again, here's the ultra, the combo, and then the third one here is a BAQ combo. Now in order to make this change or you have to create a BAQ in order to make it work, which I've actually done. Just let me come up here. We go to the top BAQ, and I believe it's Monty Lunch and Learn. Okay. This one right here is going to be the same as any one of these that you show up here. So let's do, I'm going to do order line. So if we come back over here, we select this, the binding should be to order line. It shows it in there. Alright, here's a good spot to stop, and let us save what we've got. And let's run it. So right now I'm just going to run it as the second one. I'm pushing and holding the left shift key, selecting my customization, and let's select an order. Okay, so if we come over here, here is the list we typed: hello, goodbye, in, out, in. Here's the list of plants, because that was one where we selected the business object for plants. That's just a regular combo. My BAQ obviously is not running again, so, and then here is just your list of lines, open lines. So the list is the same. And as I noted, that text is no longer behind the checkbox. So let's close that, and let's go back to the customization. Oh, I suppose I have to type in the display member and the value member. Can't type today. There, that should run. Alright. So, before we come back and do more, we've got to go on to, let's throw down an ultra grid here. That'll span a little bit. Let's throw in a DateTime Editor. And for the fun of it, let's just throw in a time editor too, just so I can show you. And let's grab a numeric editor and a currency editor. So we can programmatically fill the data in the Epi Ultra Grid if we want. Or if you want, we can simply grab one of the attached data sets. So let's just grab the order detail. And nothing's going to populate until we actually leave the form and come back in. So I'll have to show you that one in a second. If you put the text in here, it'll change the text at the top. Text across the top changed. You can change the font if you want. Again, you can bind that to your whatever fields you need to pick for a date time, since this one is the DateTime Editor. As soon as we start, you can either type it in or you can hit the drop down. It'll actually show a calendar. I'll show you that. This is the time editor, and you can just type the value in, or you can hit these up down buttons, but there's kind of a caveat to that, so we'll show you that in a minute. This is the numeric editor, and by default it comes in as an integer and it shows on a mask input. If you want, we can change it to something else. Let's change it to a decimal, and let's give it 4 decimal places. And that's just, if you want to put commas in, you can put commas in. If there's nothing in place for these, it will not show up. This is just a placeholder to give you the information, so you can hold quite a few pieces of information in there. See how that all of a sudden dropped up to 4? If I change this to 3, see how it changed now to 3. Just your currency editor, so things will show up with a currency prompt in front of it. You don't have to use the currency editor, you don't have to use the numeric one. You can do all that with a text box, but the nice thing about these is that you can actually say how you want this thing to filter, and if you want it to display only 3 characters. That would be the benefit to that. So with that, let's save this little guy, and let's rerun it again. Hey, now we're getting information on my BAQ one. Okay. Alright. And here you can see now something actually filled in. We have the information here, just didn't make it big enough. I'll correct that in a minute. Now here's the DateTime Editor, where if we want, we can just select the date and it'll automatically put it in there. With the time editor, or if you want, you can type in what you want, 01. That works as well. Per se now, let's say you want to change the date. In order to change it, you have to be in the proper one. AM, PM. So that is kind of the caveat. Oh, you should be able to just type. There, formatted it. If we just type in the numeric editor, it automatically fills it in the way we want it. It will prevent me from adding that 4th one because I put the mask in of 3. So and because it's currency, it will stop at 2. So let's go back here temporarily. I'm going to make this bigger. Here, let's get you out of the way. There we go. Alright, one more thing I'm going to show you. We're just going to verify that's got data in it. There's a couple other things here. Here are a couple other ones that are in here, but not necessarily that I've used myself. There's an epi shape. You'll notice that from other ones that are also available. When things turn green or red, they're using this epi shape. A picture box would be useful if you're going to put a picture in there, a picture of the part that you're displaying or whatever you want to choose. You can use it for displaying people. You can show their pictures if you want to do that. These down at the bottom here, this Epi Day View, Month View, Multi-View, Month View Single, and Epi Week View are used for calendar items, which I can say I have never used. They look like they might be useful, but currently, like I said, I have never used them, so that would be something that you'd have to look at yourself. One thing to note before you go forward, or before I continue on with this, is each one of these is based off of a standard .NET counterpart. So if you have any questions on something that you're seeing in here, you can just get rid of the EPI in front of it and do a search on the internet if you need help for something. If you want to take a look and try and see how something works to get more information on it, that would be the best way to do that. So anyway, one more thing here is this retriever combo. Okay, one thing to note about this retriever combo, it takes a while to load. What a retriever combo is it's searching through all of the adapters in Epicor, and it's looking for anything that's automatically been set up and is ready to rock and roll straight out of the box. So it takes a little bit in order for it to load. Now that one wasn't too bad, it only took about a minute or so, but in some cases I've seen those take up to 5 minutes, so just be careful, it might take a little bit. Then you would just need to select the group to which you want to get your information. Let's go again with part, and here are the different versions that you want to do. If you want to grab the warehouse, add that. Without any other programming or setup or whatever, it automatically will go get it based off of the information that it has in here. So one thing to note about the shape here is if there's a enabled and a disabled, if I disable it, it changes it. And we can put it enabled caption and actually a disabled caption. So as soon as we enable it or disable it, things change. Can be very useful. I can't say that I have used it, but like I said, it is one of the items that is used for things that tell you whether they're active or open or closed or whatever. It is something that's used in there. It's just one of the things that I can't say that I personally have used. So let's save this, and then let's do one final showing to make sure we have data coming in. Alright, so here there's only one line. There's only one line, so we're matching between that. We have a go and a no-go. And then, whoops, I forgot to take the description out of it. That'd be my bad. Give this a chance to load. And there's all the warehouses. And with that, we've got quite the mess, but a lot of them are useful. Some of them, like I say, I haven't used. If you have any questions, again, just do a quick search on the internet, looking for them, get rid of the EPI in front of them, and then you should be able to find an associated .NET version in order to get a better understanding of what's going on. So with that, again, my name is Monty Tislin. Again, thank you very much. I hope you learned something.